Hey guys, it's me back again, Sally from Strength to Dance, and today on Top Tips Tuesday, I'm being joined by a very good friend of mine, Suzanne Cox, who is also a fellow dancer, strength enthusiast, and Pilates instructor. So, Suzanne, thanks for joining me here in the beautiful hall.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, I have just been able to teach a Bandits Bar Masterclass here for Suzanne's students. And Suzanne is in the world of Irish dance. So if you want to just let the people know sort of a bit of your history of dancing.
So I started dancing when I was 3 or so, little tyke. And I actually only ever did Irish dancing, so I never did any of the other styles. It was all about Irish dancing for me. I think I did one ballet class, just wasn't my style. And then I kept dancing until I was probably around 23 or 24. So Irish dancing's very focused on the competition scene.
Okay, yeah.
I did all the competitions up until about that age, and then did my teacher's exam, and then opened my own school from there.
Okay, and how long have you had your school here in Sydney?
Probably actually coming up in the next couple of years to about 10 years, so it might be probably 8 years, I'd say.
Amazing. Yeah, so good. And there were a lovely bunch of kids that I was teaching today. Obviously from the other world, I'm referring to different dance positions, but I think there's quite a bit of crossover.
Yeah, there definitely is, and all the similar sort of themes, but there's just, Irish just has the odd thing here and there that's just a little bit maybe slightly different position, but definitely different terminology more than anything else.
Okay, amazing. So what, in your background as well, did you ever have any injuries throughout your dance history? Hopefully not as many as me, but...
Yes, injuries that still plague me. I had probably I'd say pretty much every Irish dancer, including myself, had some form of shin pain.
Yes.
So that varies anywhere from, mild shin pain through to verging on a stress fracture, through to a stress fracture. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find any Irish dancer that doesn't get that problem. That can lead into the feet as well. So probably my biggest injury was a foot injury, which Sally actually came across, and we had to work through. But definitely. I mean, this turnout and what we call crossing in Irish dancing, which is quite one leg crossed over the other, is really important for us, which is not a natural position for a human.
I mean, Suzanne and I often joke together, but when I was working professionally, I was in a show called Spirit of the Dance, which is still going, which has a very strong Irish theme, and we do the hard shoe and the soft shoe, but then we do other genres. And many of the professional dancers in that, like myself, have come from a strong tap background, and the modern and jazz background. So in my little stint into the world of Irish, which I'm sure would just mortify Suzanne if she saw me, but the injury I had there that plagued me for the whole contract was shin pain.
Yeah.
Shin pain, foot pain. It's when my bunion really came into its element as well in the shoes. And trying to get these positions as well. So for those of you that maybe aren't familiar, we'll be working in fifth, and they have, Irish dancers have this insane crossed fifth.
Yeah, it's like, so if that's your normal cross for other styles of dance, ours is like that. Yeah. So we call it, like, if I can see a diamond in between your legs as you stand up.
And that's a diamond in the middle, guys, when we would be with our legs connected. Also, I think one of the other things that I found was quite different doing soft shoe was the height of demi point.
Yes. So we go well beyond the normal toe joint, and it's like right up on the tip of your big toe. Like if you've seen Titanic, when I can't remember her name, Kate Winslet does that little dance move, and she goes right up on her toes. That's literally where we want to be.
So it's very much like doing point work in your point shoes, minus the hard shoe for support.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, not surprised.
Yeah. So anyway, it's quite evolved a lot over time. So when I was dancing, that cross wasn't the same. It was just more of the normal dance style cross, and it's just become more and more and more. And we always talk about having what we call sideways feet. So if your foot literally goes sideways, then that's where I want you to be. So I'm seeing a lot more hip injuries, lower back injuries coming into play that are not, I would say, were not as common when I was dancing.
I mean, we talk about this, and there's a lot of, even now, the tricks are higher, the legs are higher, the back bends are more. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I think, with all different styles. Yeah,
interesting.
And it's interesting to hear that that's the same thing with Irish.
Yeah, and ours is really athletic now, so it's, if you don't have a strength base, you've just got no chance of getting anywhere, because you've just got to have, it's such a, you know, in strength we talk about plyometric moves, and it's just got so much power and force off the floor that, you know, it was just not there when I was dancing. It was just pure elegant and pretty.
Nice segue to the strength component. So tell us a bit about your strength and conditioning background.
So I am an accredited exercise physiologist. So a lot of people don't know what that is. Yeah. So I'll explain a little bit. It's kind of, instead of just working with normal populations, the best way I explain it is that we either work either end of the spectrum. So people are either chronically ill with conditions like cancer and diabetes, heart disease, or they're at the other end of the spectrum where they're probably quite elite and working towards sport. So personal trainers will work in the middle, which we sometimes do a little bit as well, but we'll tend to be at either end of the spectrum with the people that we work with. So so I've done a lot of work with different athletes, but also my dancers in strength training. And also a little bit more down the other end in the clinical realm as well. So I used to work at the Australian Institute of Fitness, which runs all the courses to become a personal trainer. And now I just tend to do my own strength work with different groups of people.
So in your school, I understand that you do run a strength class, a strength and conditioning class. How many classes do you run a week?
We currently run one, which is on a Saturday, so we call it Strength Saturdays. It's actually probably one of the most favourite classes on the timetable. Because I think that people don't really realise until they start doing this work, firstly the benefit that it makes to your dancing, but I think they also don't realise until they do it just how much fun it is. And you know, I've got a whole range of kids from all ages. You know, you had little 6-year-old today. She does that class as well.
In the bar class today, although Bandits Bar normally is for sort of age 12 and above, I had a couple of gung-ho little 6-year-olds in there that did an amazing job. Really
so my strength class is 6-year-olds right through to 20-year-olds, and I just sort of adapt it based on where people are at and what they need to work on, and you know, I include a lot of that power-based movement as well.
So that was the plyometric stuff you mentioned
plyometric
before.
stuff, but we don't tend to do as much in our strength classes, the sort of stuff that we did today, and I definitely want to include it because it just adds it has so much relevance to what we do. And you know, while plyometric work is really important, sometimes you can't actually execute that very well if you haven't got some really slow, controlled, sustained movements, which bar and bandits really covers off on. So so I'd definitely like to include more of it in what we do.
And with your strength training, do you work like a whole body training, or is it just stuff that's specific to Irish?
No, we actually do whole body, because probably one of the biggest misconceptions in Irish dancing is that you don't need to have a strong upper body.
Upper body.
Because we don't move it, which is true in some capacity, because obviously, you know, we don't need to do what other styles do where you might have to push yourself off the floor. You know, we don't have to do that sort of stuff, but you know, you've got to have postural strength, and you've got to have you know, anything from here upwards strength, even just to be able to hold that position.
Absolutely.
Because we hold it for, a dance for us can go for anywhere between 1 minute to 3 minutes.
Yes.
So you've got to hold that set position.
Yes.
That's really hard. And then at the same time, you've got to be able to do that and kick your legs and,
yes.
you know, smile and all the other stuff that you have to do in dancing. But most people think, oh, you know, you don't have to do.
And guys, if you didn't realise or you're not familiar with Irish, they have to do all of this with about 20 kilos worth of hair and a very, very heavy dress, very beautiful and expensive.
And a lot of fake tan.
And a lot of fake tan. Yeah, so that's almost like an externally loaded dance form because you're using that weight as well.
Yeah, which can feel quite different on stage. So then you've got, you know, when that ball goes on all over your body, ends about here, you know,
it's almost
just
like dancing in a bejeweled weight vest, isn't it?
A very expensive weight vest.
About $3,000 bejeweled weight vest. I mean, I think from when I was a famous Irish dancer in America, I think the ability to actually dance, and if any of you guys want to try this, if you're not from an Irish background, actually trying to do all your dancing and get your high kicks, they're like hitch kicks, with your arms like this, it is really difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're not harnessing those diagonal patterns coming through the body to help you get the force and momentum.
Yeah.
So I know I very much struggled. I was like, wow, almost feel like I'm having to execute all of my moves in a straitjacket.
Pretty much.
It's pretty much what
and
it
it's
felt
sort of
like.
it's little things that in our performance really, really count to a judge. Like, you know, so it's posture and holding your posture really upright, but then, you know, you've often got somebody who like does a little elbow hitch when they do a kick or things like that.
And that's noted.
And that's, you know, and so if you see, that's just really distracting when you're judging. If you see an elbow hitch and it only has to be the smallest little elbow hitch for that to take a fair amount of...
Because you adjudicate now, don't you, on the
I do,
Irish
yes.
scene? She's looking for these things, you see.
And that annoys me a lot, when someone's elbow hitches up. Yeah, so it's, you know, and that's where that really cross-strength really plays a part, because, you know, it's not just about not being able to keep your arm in. It's actually about the strength about...
The whole chain.
The whole chain, and being able to make sure that that's all firing really well to make that, that work. And, you know, we always notice a difference. Because I've got a couple that will just only hitch on one side. Okay. So then if I program around that, you can see a real difference in them just being able to focus on keeping that side straight.
Yes.
So, yeah. We've only done strength really. Actually, COVID made us start doing strength training. You know, because it's typically a dance school didn't really offer that kind of stuff, and then I'd put it into classes. Like I've always done strength in classes, but then I just thought it's not enough, because you'd only, you know, we run our classes go for an hour and a half. We've got to do soft shoe, we've got to do hard shoe. If I want to put strength in there, I just don't have enough time. So then I decided that I wanted to add it as just a completely different class. So so we did it online.
And have you done that? Have you seen a difference?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Even from one class a week.
Yeah, and it's you know, our class is not particularly long. It's we do a 45-minute class, so but it's, you know, we just do it straight after our training. So then we've done our dance work, and I'm able to program around it that, you know, we do less. You know, it's more about precision and foot placement on a Saturday. So then we can really focus on putting in some solid work into strength afterwards.
I think this is one of the things, and I often talk about this when I'm doing lecturing work for physios and Pilates training, is that the research would show you need to be doing sort of 2 to 3 sessions a week for maintenance.
Yeah.
And subjectively, however, your clients feel stronger just with one. And objectively, you can see the changes just with one a week.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're struggling within a school time-wise, even just one session a week, would see a difference.
Definitely.
I know that's been the case with some of the schools I've worked with here. As well.
Yeah. And I tend to find most of my girls, particularly my really competitive girls that compete overseas and things like that, they've got all of their own programs. So they would do. They would do something outside of what they're doing strength-wise. So they've got strength class, but then they would do 2 to 3 sessions at home of this strength work as well. So that's it's not so much that they're just getting that one strength class, but definitely I actually, you know, a lot of that sort of work that they're doing might be for a specific injury to rehab that
or
and make sure
dance specific training
exactly,
as opposed to global body training.
Exactly, yeah. So they've got, you know, very specific things they're covering off there. But I actually tend to find with strength training, I get massive benefit from 1 session per week. Yeah. I get a little bit more from 2 sessions per week, and I don't get a hell of a lot more from more than that. Yeah. So I find that, you know, if I, not saying that you can't do more, because I've definitely, I've definitely found the ones that are doing the extra get the added benefit of being able to isolate certain muscles and get right things firing and all that sort of stuff. But you know, I think people think you don't have time, and that it has to be like an hour-long strength training class.
Yes, it doesn't.
But it doesn't. You can make it 15-20 minutes. You can cover off on what you need to do within that time.
Now, you said you've been running this, especially kicked off last year in COVID when we moved online. Yeah. Have you noticed, and it's probably not a huge time frame to look at, any difference in niggles or injuries that your girls are talking about?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think.
I mean, it is only, we're just 12 months here in Australia for our COVID lockdown. Yeah. Which wasn't really a lockdown anyway. Lucky Australia.
You know, in comparison. I think Irish dancers are always going to have shin pain. Yes. To an extent. So I don't expect to see too much difference in that side of things. Yes. Particularly because they don't stretch their calves enough. Yes. And don't, you know, there's just so
Segue,
so
look
much.
at the release videos on the Strength for Dance channel.
Yes. And I think Irish dancers need to stretch their calves for probably an hour a day to combat what we do. Yeah. For those that don't know, we actually land on our toes and don't drop through our heels. So it's just all lower leg, all completely just jarring through that joint. So I don't know who came up with that. Whose bright idea was that?
I don't know. Some similar person that came up with point work, I think.
But what I do notice already, particularly in my seniors, is because we've done such a focus of making sure that we've got a lot of pelvic and hip stability in the exercises, particularly before we've got into any kind of, you know, high power plyometric type of training. So I notice things like when they land in jumping, they're less likely to dip down on one side through their hips and through the knees and things like that. So then, you know, I would predict that that would cause them less problems with the more current injuries that we've seen over the last, you know, 10 years or so. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I also would love to see, because I've got little tiny ones, my little 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds that have just started doing strength training since COVID as well, and they definitely haven't got any injuries
so far.
So
let's go.
So if we can keep going that way, and it'd be interesting to see that, you know, starting strength training from a young age, and really focusing on making sure that that's part of their routine and programming. Yeah. What kind of difference that will make.
Do you have, just finishing off, any sort of advice or tips for the dancers that are watching? And this would be any dancer.
Just anything.
Or for any of the dancers, not just Irish.
Yeah. I think definitely don't be afraid of strength training. You know, my dancers have certainly not become bulky bodybuilders since doing this in any way, shape or form. And, you know, I think it's not just dancers, but girls in general. We, you know, think that's a really big concern, and it's just not going to happen. No. It's, you know, I used to work in a gym environment, and, you know, if I told you what bodybuilders had to do to actually get that size, I'm talking get up in the middle of the night to drink cups of oil to get enough size, you know, so we just, it's not going to happen, you know, and it's, and I think that often stops people from wanting to give it a good shot and really see the difference it can make. So, you know, just at least give it a try. And, you know, the style of strength training that we're doing, it's not aimed at that. That's not what we're telling you to do. We're just telling you to do things that will make a difference to your injury prevention and your performance, which can only help.
Yeah. And I think it's really nice that you touched on whole body training, which would be your functional patterns, maybe a bit of dynamic planking, squatting, lunging.
Yeah.
But then also we have to factor in the dance specific training.
Yes.
Which might be certain things to help with leg kicks and keeping a still body, or something to go with that.
Yeah.
And that we need to be, I mean, I'm talking about this all the time, but training for dance and not just dancing and hoping that that's going to be enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I think you'll see the difference in yourself if you give it a go, and that will be enough to convince you.
And it's good to know as well that even one session a week, everybody, you can feel the difference. It's so worth it. But yes, subjectively you do.
Yeah, yeah. And I wish I'd had this when I was younger.
100%.
I had no idea that this could make such a difference.
No, 100%. I mean, I know I only got into going to the gym when I was at just graduating uni and going into my professional dance career. Yeah. But then all my training was linear, seated on machines. So although I may have got some tissue resilience, it certainly wasn't transferable to then what I was doing on stage later on that night.
Yeah, yeah.
No transferable nature at all.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right, well, cool. Thanks for joining me, Suzanne,
Pleasure.
in your beautiful studio here in Sydney. And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.